Have you ever read the back of a milk carton or your box of a favorite snack? Maybe you haven't, maybe you have, but I sure have. In addition to the nutritional information column I like to peruse, I usually find a little label with a B on it. Didn't think much of it, probably some kind of company or some organization kind of thing, right? Well, turns out there's a little bit more to it than that. Welcome to Sustainable Sense, where we invest in climate defense. You're in for our hot take on all things money, markets, and the environment. Welcome back to Sustainable Sense. I'm your host, and today we're taking a closer look at 3 simple words on the back of food packages and other types of packaging that carry a lot of weight in the business world. Certified B Corporation. B Corp stands for Benefit Corporation. Listeners, before you turn on me, it's not a legal structure like an LLC or a nonprofit you've heard about in your business class. Instead, B Corp is a third-party certification used by the nonprofit B Lab. Yep, bet you didn't expect that one. Think of it like a sustainability report card for companies, but it goes way beyond carbon emissions. You've probably seen that circular black and white B logo on packaging, from Patagonia jackets to Ben & Jerry's ice cream. It looks pretty official and ethical. But what does it actually mean when a company says it's a B Corp? Is it just a PR package or something more transformative? So today, we're going beyond that label. Let's start with what a B Corporation actually is. In the corporate world, most companies are legally designed to maximize profit for shareholders. That's their job. But B Corps choose a different route. They commit not just to a mission statement, but in their legal DNA to balance profit with purpose. And that commitment isn't symbolic. To become a B Corp, a company has to undergo an intense data-driven evaluation known as the B Impact Assessment, conducted by the nonprofit B Lab, which I mentioned earlier. And you have to be pretty committed. This assessment covers 5 key areas: governance, workers, community, environment, and customers. And every question is scored. So yeah, basically a final exam for different companies. The total possible score is 200, but the bar for certification is set at 80 points. That might sound easy, until you hear that the median score for ordinary businesses that take the assessment is around 50. So in other words, passing means outperforming most of your peers, not just in one area, but across the board. And it doesn't stop there. Companies must provide supporting documentation, sometimes face random audits, and amend their legal structure to embed stakeholder consideration into their bylaws. This means that even if it hurts short-term profits, a B Corp is obligated to weigh the interests of its workers, community, and environment. So what's in it for the company? Why even go through all of this? Because in today's economy, values have value. More consumers want to support mission-driven brands. More employees, especially Gen Z and millennials, want to work for companies that align with the values that they have. And long-term investors are paying attention to companies that build trust, reduce risk, and innovate sustainably. But here's where we pause. Because I know what you're thinking. If you've been following the show, you're probably wondering, isn't this just like an ESG rating? Don't companies already get scored on this kind of thing? Let's clear that up. So a B Corp certification is a voluntary comprehensive audit and legal shift initiated by the company itself. It's an opt-in, an inside-out process. An ESG rating, on the other hand, is usually external and investor-facing. It's signed, often without a company's request, by third-party agencies like MSCI or Sustainanalytics. These ratings assess how well a company is managing environmental, social, and governance risks. And on that note, the word risk. ESG doesn't judge a company's intentions or purpose. It evaluates how likely the company is to face issues that might harm its bottom line. So, for example, an interesting one, A tobacco company could have a really high ESG score if it discloses its emissions, treats workers fairly, and avoids lawsuits. But that doesn't mean it's contributing positively to the world. It just means it's managing its risk well. So, see what I mean here? In contrast, a B Corp certification is about impact, not just risk. A company that qualifies is saying, we're not just avoiding harm, we're actively trying to create good. And the process shows it. ESG scores often rely on public disclosures and proprietary algorithms. B Corp certification involves real documentation, interviews, and legal restructuring. Now, let's put the sense in sustainable sense. There is a cost to becoming a B Corp, of course. Annual certification fees are based on revenue, ranging from $1,000 for small companies to over $50,000 for large corporations. And that's not counting the internal investments like improving benefits, switching to renewable energy, or revamping supply chains. But many B Corps say the return is really worth it. Why exactly? Stronger consumer loyalty, better talent recruitment, easier access to impact capital, and increasingly access to ESG screened funds that now recognize B Corp status as a signal of credibility. So if you're a company who wants to get this certification, I say go for it. Research suggests that companies that adopt stakeholder governance structures such as B Corps are often more resilient during crises. They tend to plan long term, treat employees as assets, and operate with more transparency. That doesn't mean they're immune to market forces, but it does mean they're often better positioned to withstand them. Of course, being a B Corp isn't the end of the road. Certification must be renewed every 3 years, and B Lab regularly updates its standards. What counted in 2015 might not cut it in 2025. Companies that don't improve can lose certification, so it's an ongoing commitment. So next time you see that B Corp logo, you'll know it's not just a badge. It's a promise, a legal, documented, scored, and monitored promise to operate differently. And in a world where trust is currency, that promise can be worth a lot. Before we wrap up, here's your Sustainable Sense trivia for the day. Which of these is true about B Corp certification, but not about ESG ratings? A. It requires legal changes to the company's structure. B. It's scored by a third party. C. It evaluates governance risks. Or D. It includes data on carbon emissions. The answer will be revealed later in this episode. But what does that mean for markets, for investors, for people who are trying to put their money where their values are? Let's talk about impact investing. We've mentioned impact investing several times on our podcast before. Impact investors are looking for more than financial returns. They want measurable social and environmental outcomes too. Traditionally, it's been tricky to know which companies really deliver on that promise. But that's where B Corps come in. We now know that they offer a verified, transparent framework investors can actually trust. More and more impact-focused venture funds and ESG-aligned portfolios are viewing B Corp status as a shortcut to credibility. Some even screen for it. It signals that a company is doing its homework, like tracking emissions, engaging stakeholders, and committing to governance structures that won't fold the moment profits dip. And if you look at private markets, there's another interesting trend. Certified B Corps often attract patient capital where investors are willing to forego short-term gains in favor of long-term resilience. Think mission-driven VC firms and even pension funds. They see the legal accountability baked into B Corps as a buffer against reputational and operational risk. Public markets are catching on too. While most B Corps today are privately held, several, including Vital Farms and Lemonade, have IPO'd and maintained their B Corp status. And while the label itself isn't a stock ticker filter yet, it's increasingly being used as an alpha signal by analysts tracking sustainability leadership. Still, it's worth noting, B Corp status isn't priced into the market yet, at least not in the way ESG scores are. You won't find a B Corp index on Bloomberg terminals yet, but that might be a part of the opportunity. For impact-minded investors, these companies could be the undervalued pioneers, ones that are structurally aligned with the values driving the next generation of consumer and capital flows. I will definitely be incorporating this into my buy-sell analyses in the future. Back to today's trivia question. Which of these is true about B Corp certification, but not about ESG ratings? A. It requires legal changes to the company's structure. B. It's scored by a third party. C. It evaluates governance risks. Or D. It includes data on carbon emissions. If you guess A, it requires legal changes to the company's structure, then you're correct. B Corps are required to amend their governing documents to include stakeholder interests. ESG-rated firms? Not at all. They can score well without changing anything fundamental. So now we know, B Corp status isn't just a symbol of good intentions. It's legally binding, performance-measured shift in how a business sees its role in the world. And that's a huge step to take, one worth recognizing. So if you're someone looking to invest in change, not just talk about it, B Corps might be worth a closer look for you. One day you may see yourself or even someone you know with a B Corp climbing their way up the S&P 500. So if you like this episode, please be sure to share it with someone who believes business can't be both profitable and purposeful. Remember, every small step we take towards sustainability makes a difference. Be sure to subscribe for more insights into the sustainable side of economic development. You can find us on LinkedIn and Instagram at sustainablecentspodcast. If you have any questions or episode suggestions, you can email us at sustainablecentspodcast@gmail.com. Again, that's sustainablecentspodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, this is your host signing off. And as always, invest your sense in climate defense.